this segment, we're going to learn how to properly calibrate the VA388 Black Eagle Gravimetric. When these machines are pre-shipped to you, they go through a calibration process. The calibration process ensures that the scales are properly calibrated when using this machine. When you receive the machine, it is also advisable to calibrate the scales. I am going to show you on how to calibrate the scales properly in this video. Today, we have a Gravimetric 2-group machine. We also make it in a 3-group model. Also to my left, we have a Mythos ClimaPro. These two machines are going to be used in the calibration process of the Gravimetric Black Eagle. It is important that you know the output of your coffee, which is in grams, that is going to be dispensed into your portafilter. Your portafilter basket, whatever you choose to use for the basket, will determine the quantity of output from the grinder. Today, we're using the Simonelli Mythos 1 or ClimaPro. This grinder here allows me to properly dispense the proper amount of coffee within 0.5 grams. We also have a scale. An electronic scale is going to be a tool that's going to help us to calibrate the throw of coffee from the grinder. Again, according to the handle that we're using and according to the basket we're using. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that you calibrate your grinder to the proper espresso grind. Once that is achieved, we can go ahead and calibrate the grind output into our scale. What we're going to do here is we're going to program the amount of gram output to be around 18 or 19 grams. So to do that, we take our cup. We'll go ahead and place it onto the scale. We'll tare it. And then we're going to go ahead and grind some coffee into our dispensed cup. As we place it on the scale, we're going to see that we're around 19 grams of coffee, which for this particular demonstration is going to be used to calibrate our machine. There are obviously some influences that can change what you're doing. Basket size, grind size, coffee quantity. Today we're going to use a 19 gram out dose into our portafilter to calibrate our Black Eagle. Again, this is just an example of what it would be in this particular case. We have calibrated our Mythos 1 or ClimaPro grinder. Now we're going to program the volumes on our Black Eagle Gravimetric machine. What you will need in this segment is the portafilter. In our case, we're going to be dosing 19 grams for the output on the grinder. And we'll need a container, a glass container, a plastic container, to be used in the programming or calibration of the gravimetric scale. So what I will do is I'll place the container onto the measuring device scale. I'll tare it. I'm going to go ahead and load my handle with coffee. In this case, 19 grams. Proceed to tamp the coffee. I have zeroed my container. I will come over here to the gravimetric machine. I will place my handle into the brew head. I will put the container that is going to capture the liquid onto the electronic scale. It is very important that this container sits onto the platform that Simonelli has designed to accommodate the container. Up here, we come to the navigational screen. We have our navigational device, the black knob, that is going to allow us to select different programming features. Now we're going to access the gravimetric calibration function. The black knob here will allow me to navigate through different functions. As you see here, it highlights the menu. I push in on the button and I scroll over to program doses. I push once and it takes me into dose programming. There are many options that can be performed here. We can program the doses, we can transfer doses, we can also go back to a factory standard dose, weight compensation, and then finally calibration of the scale. That is the option that we want to access right now. By pressing the center knob, we now access the calibration mode. By selecting group 1, we highlight it, press the center knob. Right now, we have a flashing value in grams. Below that, we also have a calibration mode that will set the scale from 0 to a maximum of 100 grams. In this case, we're going to choose the option of calibration of the scale. Right now, it asks us to confirm the operation of calibrating the scale. If we highlight the green check mark, the machine will start the process of calibrating our scale. Again, this runs from 0 all the way to 100 grams. And right now, it is calibrating the scale using the liquid product. People ask me, is it okay to use water versus espresso? The way that the formulation is determined is by flow rate. So it is important and imperative to have espresso when you're calibrating the scale. People also ask me, why can't we use weights? A weight that is 100 grams. Again, this scale has to learn the flow of the espresso that is being dispensed. And as you see now, we've actually reached the 100 gram capacity. You'll notice that the screen also is displaying a value of 100. What we will do here is we will move our container to our scale. As you recall, we had our container on the gravimetric platform and we were calibrating the scale. If you remember correctly, we went from 0 to 100 grams. The screen right now reads currently 100 grams, but we have a control scale that we're going to compare. This scale right now is reading 96.9 grams. With that information, we are going to input that into the gravimetric machine. Our scale is showing us a different value than what the scale is reading on the gravimetric machine. We were on our control scale and we got a reading of 96.9. As you will see here, the value for grams is flashing. And as you recall earlier in the previous video, our scale read from 0 to 100. The scale on the screen has to be adjusted to compensate for our control scale. So right now it is at 100, and we are going to dial the value down to match our controlled scale. And as you'll notice, everything goes by 0.5. So right now it's at 97, then it goes to 96.5. In this case, I would scroll to 97.0 because previously we saw a value of 96.9. So we're going to leave it around 97 grams. If for some reason we want to go back and check that value, when you enter group 1, you'll notice the value is not at 97. It actually ends up at 103. The manufacturer has calculated the cell according to the Akaya scale, which we had read 97, and it compensates by 3 grams. So basically, what we're learning here is that you want to make sure that you have a good working control scale, whether it be an Akaya or some other brand. This is going to be the offset to calibrate our scale, which is within the gravimetric system. We have programmed and calibrated our gravimetric scale. The next thing that we're going to do is enter programming and program the dosage in gram output for water. So what we'll do is we'll enter the menu, we'll go to program doses, highlight program doses. You'll notice that your selection for your keypads will start blinking. I will select the single measure, and then it displays a value on the screen. For this video, I'm going to use 30 grams for my volume of output. Once I have confirmed that setting, I press the enter key, and now I select it again, and I go to the double dose. This one here, I have programmed for 40 grams. So we have programmed our values on the Black Eagle gravimetric machine. The single dosage is 30 grams, the double dosage is 40 grams. What we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and load our portafilter with coffee, roughly 19 grams on the dispense. We have our Akaya scale, or a scale that's comparative. We take our container that we're dosing into. We want to make sure we zero that. And now we're going to go ahead and do the next step process. We have dosed coffee into our portafilter. We have zeroed our container for our control scale, the Akaya scale that we're using, or whatever scale you choose to use. And now we're going to go ahead and press the single measure. The single measure, again, has been programmed for 30 grams on the output of water. So as we press this, we're going to see two things happen in the screen. We're going to see displayed time and displayed output in grams. Do not touch the scale at this time. Do not bump the tray. This is an active working station at this time. As we see here, we are having our display time of 23 seconds. We are also seeing our gram output of water of 32 grams. So, as we've learned, our display output on the Black Eagle gravimetric was 32 grams. We come over here to our controlled scale, in this case the Akaya, and we'll notice that our liquid quantity that we pulled off the gravimetric scale actually reads 31.1 grams. In order to fix this, what we will do is we will access the programming on the gravimetric machine. We are now going to access a part of the menu of this Black Eagle gravimetric that is going to allow us to do a compensation in weight. As you recall, on the Akaya scale, our weight was not in line with what the Black Eagle was reading. So we're going to have to compensate for that difference. To access the compensation page, you'll press Menu. You'll scroll to Program Doses. When Program Doses, you will scroll to Weight Compensation. Pressing the button again, and you will now be in a menu that displays Group 1 and Group 2. You'll see 4 values. For Group 1, it is for button 1 and button 2. We can offset. Group 2, you have the same offset for Group 1, or button 1, and button 2. In this case, we are going to adjust or weight compensate for button 1. We go ahead and highlight Group 1, and we're going to adjust it by 2 grams. We obviously saw that our value on the screen earlier was higher. So we want to bring the scale more into line with the Akaya scale, our controlled scale. So now we've inputted the value and we are going to enter that. Now we're going to go ahead and select button 1, which we know is programmed for 30 grams. As you saw earlier, we went into weight compensation because we wanted the value on the screen to be the same value as our controlled scale, that being the Akai scale. So right now, we're going to go ahead and check that. As you recall, we have our time, and we also have our weight. Always remember that this is an active platform. These scales are very sensitive, so you don't want to be grabbing the cup or hitting the tray while it's calibrating or while it's dispensing product. If you'll notice here, we now are exactly at 30 grams. So as we have poured another shot on the gravimetric scale, we showed you earlier how to do the weight compensation. Again, we saw on the display 30 grams, and that's what we would like to see the output, because that's what we program for a value. Now taking our container of liquid coffee, we place it on the Akai scale. And we'll notice that our Akai scale is reading 29.5 grams. The system is within a ½ gram of accuracy. So at this time, we have calibrated the gravimetric scale within the ½ gram of calibration. This will complete the video on calibrating the Black Eagle Gravimetric.